Hello and welcome to Lesson 3 of this Excel basic course. If you haven't already done so, then I highly encourage you to complete the first two lessons in this series by clicking on the link at the playlist in the top right hand corner of this screen. So let's take a more detailed look at the learning objectives for today's lesson. First, we'll take a look at how to do some basic mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, division and multiplication. And we'll talk a little bit about the order of those and how Excel executes them. Next, we'll have a look at some basic data analysis functions, which allow us to find things like the maximum, minimum, median and mean in a range of data. Amongst the main content, we'll also talk a little bit about number formatting and also how to quickly sum a range using the AutoSum function. Additionally, we'll briefly talk about Excel's powerful filtering and sort functions. So if you haven't done so already, load up the Excel sheet that we created in the previous two lessons, and I'll join you when you're ready. So let's start by tidying up the data that we've currently got. So we're not going to concern ourselves too much today with counting attendance. So let's just get rid of these summary sheets here. Data here in columns E, F and G. So simply selecting them all, right clicking and delete. Okay, we'll get a warning there because we've used our chart on the separate tab, remember, to calculate some things based on those numbers. But we'll just acknowledge it and say OK. So let's get rid of that chart. So if we right click here on the chart tab down at the bottom, we can once again just select delete, and that then removes that chart by selecting the delete in the pop-up. And let's just remove all of this extra data that we used here from rows 8 downwards. So again, we can just select all of the rows here by holding down the left mouse button, right clicking and selecting delete. And there we go, we've got a nice clean set of data now to start looking at our arithmetic functions. So for all mathematic operators and functions, we're going to need to have some numbers to form that data operations, and we don't have any right now. So let's go ahead and add some test scores in column D. So we'll put our header here into cell D1, test scores, and then let's just invent some data here from some scores between 0 and 100. Now for the purposes of what we're going to look at today, we're going to need an odd number of data points. So I'm going to add one more in here at the bottom. Let's add a new student in cell A8. The attendance is not important, we can just leave that blank. Now remember from earlier how we managed to copy formats before, so if we select here the data that's in column C simply by pressing Ctrl, Shift and the down arrow, and if we click on the Format Painter cell here, we can then just click in D1 and there we go. And again, if we click between cells D and E at the top in the header there, we can automatically resize. And we can do the same for the column, row here. If we highlight row 7, click Format Painter once, and then click on row 8, it'll automatically apply that format there. So there we go, that keeps tidy. Let's just decapitalize that C in test scores. Okay, so there we go, we've got some data points. So your mathematical operators, so addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication, are very, very simple to do in Excel. And like any formula, we need to precede the formula with an equal sign, even if we're not using an actual function that we're going to type in. So let's just say we wanted to add together John Smith and Jane Doe's score. So we would simply click equals, we'd click on the cell here for John Smith's score, enter the plus operator, and click on Jane Doe's score, and then we press enter. And there we go, it adds those two numbers together. And in exactly the same way, we would subtract using the subtraction operator. We multiply using the Shift 8 asterisk is the multiply sign. And the final one is division. which we use the slash key for. So on a PC, it's usually on the same key as question mark. And there we go. So those are your 4 basic mathematic operators: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. It's important though to remember the order of operation with regards to mathematical operators when you're combining the use of more than one. So the order of operation is parentheses, exponentials, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And what we mean by that is when Excel looks at a formula from left to right, it will prioritize some operations over others. So let's say, for example, in this simple formula, if we say equals 3 plus 4 times 7. So the way Excel will do this is it will do 4 multiplied by 7 and then add the 3. So the answer will not be 49. It won't do 3 plus 4, which is 7 times 7. So the answer is 31, because it does 4 times 7 and then adds 3. And that's important to remember. Okay, so let's go on and look at a few more interesting formulas when it comes to some actual functions. So we're going to take a look at some very basic mathematical operators like finding the biggest number in a range, finding the middle number, finding the average. So very simple things that you might need to use on a data set. So let's just record down what we want to find first. So let's see, we want to find the maximum, the minimum, the median, which is the middle number of a range, and the mean, which is also known as the arithmetic average. And that's the number that is all of them added together divided by the number of things that are in the data set. So once again, these are very simple formulas, and we start them by pressing the equals key. So we press equals here. So the maximum is found with a formula called max. So we just type in max. There we see it there. Equals max. Double click on it, or you can open the parentheses. Select the range that you want to use. So let's go D2, D8. Close our brackets and press enter. So it tells us that the max of that range is 94. And if we scan through, we can see, yep, 94 is indeed the answer. So I'm just going to sideline here a little bit and show another way that you could do this very simply using Excel's really powerful sort and filter functions. So if we click here within the header of our table, either select all of the header or we can just select A1 for now, and go over to the top right of the screen here where it says sort and filter. If you click on the down arrow and then click this filter icon, and you can see here that 4 small little arrows will appear at the top in each of our columns. Now what these are access to simple sort and filter functions. So what that allows us to do is to actually change the way we can view our data by sorting it in a specific order or looking at specific items. So let's imagine we wanted to find that maximum again. What we'd want to look at is we'd want the data sorted in order of test score with the highest at the top. And then to do that, we would simply click on the down arrow here, where in the test score column, we could pick sort by smallest to largest, but that would put the lowest number at the top. So let's do sort largest to smallest. And there we go. We can see now that it's actually put 94 at the top of the list, which is super useful. So that was one way to do it. And likewise, we could reverse the sort order, and then it will sort them in minimum to maximum order. The disadvantage in doing this is, as you may have observed, if you watch the numbers here in column F, when we do the sorting here, we actually change what's in this column as well. So you have to be careful about where you're looking at other data based on what data you have in this table. Also, what you must be very careful of is not sorting data independently of other columns. But let's go back to our formulas. So the minimum, strangely enough, the formula for this is equals min. Double click on it, again, select the same range, close our brackets, and it now tells us 65, so we can see in our list 65. So the median is the middle number, so when they're sorted in order like they are right now, it's pretty easy to see which one the middle number is. So we've got 3 numbers at the top here, 3 numbers at the bottom, so the middle number is going to be 76. So if we clear the filter, simply by going up to the sort and filter icon at the top right here and just selecting clear. So let's sort our data in a slightly different order so that the numbers get jumbled up. So let's say sort it A to Z. So now it's putting no's at the top and yes at the bottom. Note when you sort A to Z, blanks will always go to the bottom. And now we can see actually now the numbers are a bit more jumbled up and it's much more difficult to tell which one the middle number is. So the good news is we can just do it using a formula. So let's just click in this cell here next to where we want to record it. We'll type in equals median. Double click on it again, select our range. And there we go, 76, just as we saw before when we did have them sorted in order. And the last one is the arithmetic average or mean, which again is going to add up the entire range and divide it by the number of items in the range. And for this we use the formula equals average, open parentheses, select our range once again, close the brackets and press enter. So this is now adding up all of the numbers and dividing it by the number of items and giving us a number of 80.14286. So just to prove that that's correct, let's just show you. So remember, if we wanted to sum all of this data in the column, so add it up, we can type in equals sum, but I'm just going to show you a quick way of doing that. So this icon up here, which says AutoSum, if we just click on that, you can see it will actually automatically populate in this cell equals sum D2 to D8, which is everything above it, and we just press enter. And what we're going to do to count the number of items, well, we know that there's 7, but we can do it by using the count A formula, remember, equals count A, open brackets, 7, and then we'll use our simple arithmetic operator of division to work out what 561 divided by 7 is. There we go, 80.14285,714. Exactly the same as what we have in here. So you'll notice actually that there is a slight difference between what we can see in this cell and what we can see in this cell. And this is because of the size of the cell. Now what's not immediately obvious is that it is actually hiding data because of the size of the cell. And if we drag out cell I, column I rather, yeah, we can see there now, we can see the whole number. And this is just something to be really, really careful of when you're actually using formulas if you want this level of precision. Now, we can get round this to an extent by formatting our numbers in a specific way. It's not often that you will need this number of decimal places for a numerical value. And we can quick format numbers by simply clicking on the cell and using the number here to decrease decimal or increase decimal. So we can click on that and we can simply shrink the number of decimals or increase the number of decimals. So we can see there actually that's going on and on and on and on. But another way to do it would be to actually if we click on this small icon at the bottom next to where it says number, we can go and actually tell it specifically how we want to format it. So we want it to be a number. Let's say we want 2 decimal places, so we'll change this number here to 2. You can also put in like a 1000 separator. So typically in the UK we use a comma to separate thousands. But then we can click OK and we can see now that this formats it down to 2 decimal places, which is 80.14. There are a number of other different formats that we can use, so percentages or the accounting format, for example, and we'll talk about those in a later lesson, but it's best to not change formatting around too much because you can run into problems between text and number formats, so let's just leave it alone for now, and I think that's probably enough to wrap up this lesson. So let's just have a quick recap on what we learned in today's lesson. We learned how to perform basic mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. We also talked a little bit about the order of those operations, how Excel prioritizes multiplication and division, for example, over addition and subtraction. We had a look at some very simple data analysis functions, like how to find the max of a range, the minimum, the average, and the median. Within that context, we also looked at Excel sorting and filtering functions, and had a quick look at how to quickly AutoSum a column using the AutoSum feature. So I hope you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and make sure you don't miss the next lesson. Bye bye for now, and hope to see you next time.